Welcome back to a new episode of The Good Talk. Today in studio, we have Jamie Brindle. What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going, dude. It's exciting to be here. It's exciting to be on this side of the table.
Yeah, you're normally on this side of the table interviewing people.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the studio, man? You've been shooting here for, I think, maybe like a couple months now?
Yeah. It's been a chunk of change. I mean, obviously, we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
I was just, before these got turned on, I was just complimenting you on the set design. It's like, I feel like every time I come here, there's like, you've plussed it one small way, it's
that's what it is, man. You always have to change, upgrade a little here and there over time. This is what it's been. Like, it's just
no, it's great though, dude. Like, seriously, and we're really enjoying our partnership too. It's not just about the toys and the set. I think it's been fun to work.
No, yeah, I've been enjoying having you in here.
Yeah.
You and your wife have been in here and come to record stuff, so it's awesome. You guys go live, and I think you're the only people that go live when you guys come in studio.
It's fun.
Yeah.
We're the only ones so far.
I think so. Yeah.
No, I think that's the cool part. Courtney sits over there. There's people that can't see it. There's a couch over here. I guess it's a different set. I presume people film over there too. Yeah. And we go live, and the audience, our community, gets to be involved and ask questions live.
Yeah, it's really cool that they can interact and ask questions at the end of like the session.
Right. Yeah.
And they can go ahead and you answer them right there live. And that's a ton of value for people that are tuning in just for that.
That's the play. I mean, we're always trying to add as much value as humanly possible. And all the stuff that we talk about, like it's great if it's helpful, but like it's if it's not meeting them where they're at, like if they can't take the information and then like apply it to their day to day, then like it's really like, what's the point? And so like any chance we get to like bring people in and give them that kind of access where it's like, okay, I hear you on pricing, or I hear you on marketing, but here's what's going on right here. And like, I think this is different, but could you answer this for me? And more often than not, it's not different at all. They just need to hear, their specifics like added into the sentence.
No, I think that's smart.
Yeah.
To have your audience tune in while you're doing a podcast or whatever it is you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and get started with this. This interview is about you, and I want to learn more about you and basically how you got started on your journey, your freelance journey.
Okay,
so
cool.
let's go back from the beginning, man.
Game time.
Let's go back to when you started your freelance journey.
Okay, yeah. So I officially started my freelance journey when I was 17 years old. So I went to a high school that it was like a specialty center. So it's like the specialty was media. So it was like, your history class, like your project was shoot a documentary about XYZ, or like math class, it's like develop a website that explains this theorem, or so it's like everything was tied to some sort of multimedia.
And this was high school?
High school, yeah.
17-year-old Jamie Brindle.
This is him. This is the guy,
Okay.
right? It's like I learned how to use a camera. You could go to the gear locker and check out cameras, and they started us up on not Final Cut, on iMovie. They started us on iMovie because we're 15 years old at that point, right? So we're kids. And but we quickly graduate to Final Cut and Avid. Those are the two paths they took us. But once I learned the basics of a camera and an editing system, it's just the kind of person I am. Is probably the kind of person you are, and a lot of people watching this. I was like, okay, cool. What do I do now? It's like I figured this thing out in like 3 weeks. So it's like, what's next? How about I go figure out how to make money off of this? So I started my first ever client was my good friend's dad's law firm, and I made a television commercial for them. Checked out a camera from school and went and filmed a commercial for them.
Where's that commercial at now?
I don't know.
Is it somewhere on the internet?
That's something it's not on the internet, but damn, that's something I haven't thought about. Is like, I wonder if that's on a errant hard drive somewhere in like my mom's like apartment, my mom's attic or something. It was. I'm sure it was janky as hell. I didn't know anything about, exposing for indoor, outdoor setups and
white balance was all off.
Yeah. Oh God, it was
Trust
bad.
me,
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
But it was cool. I mean, it was, we did that, and the next step there is you go negotiate the airtime with the local stations, and we go to like Comcast, ABC, Fox, CBS, things like that. I put on my Men's Warehouse suit. And 17-year-old try to act like I'm, at least 20 or something. And I go in there and negotiate with a 58-year-old dude about, airtime for my client. And I said, okay, cool. This is what I'm doing now.
Where was this? At what place?
This was in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, so are you from Richmond, Virginia?
Yeah.
So you were born there?
Born. Well, yes, I was. But moved around a little bit, then came back to Virginia. So,
okay, so you grew up in Richmond and finished high school there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool that your school provided this type of program, or was it a class? What kind of?
It was like a full on program. It was like a 4-year, like 9th through 12th grade. It took our electives out. So it's like all of our electives were media based. We didn't have gym. Like we had to go to a gym outside of school and like log hours, because it needed more of those electives for media classes. But it was cool. And like a lot of us like are still in it. Like, I'll check in with people on the old Facebook group or something, and like, I don't know, man, it's a cool, I feel like it's, time is your ally with this stuff where like, cause by the time I got to college, I signed up for basically the same major thinking like, okay, well I did media and I'm doing this professionally and I'll go plus it in college. And I got to college and they were teaching us all the stuff I learned when I was 15.
So you already knew all this.
So I already knew all of it. So I just checked out of those classes and I'd go work on my business. It's like, and then I just show up on test day because like I know how to use Final Cut. Ask me anything, I can do it real quick for my exam.
So you were ahead of the curve.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
I was about a solid 4 years ahead of everybody else in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had something similar. I had a magnet school as well, and that's where I got into as well, like video production and editing. And I fell in love with editing. I was like, what is this? You can edit content like video and. Because, think about it. In the 90s, that's when video cameras became available and accessible to the public.
That's true.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, I was born in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, like, that's crazy. That hasn't been that long.
That's fair. I haven't thought about that, how accessible it was. Because you're right. I mean, like, everybody had, like, in the 80s, it was like a Super 8 camera, right?
Yeah. Like, only, like, I think film productions and, like, production companies had access to cameras.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the 90s, that's when people got
the prosumer cameras started making their appearance. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like mini DV. Is that what you came up on? Mini DV, or was it was
actually I think so. I think so. Yeah. Like I had the big cameras. Like in high school, we would record with like these big cameras.
I remember it was we used to. It's like an iconic camera, and every now and then I see it with a smile on my face. It was like, you might remember, it was like I think it was a Canon. It was like big, but it was like gray and red. Do you remember that camera?
No.
We'll have to find it. You can put a graphic of them where like it's this icon. It's this great. It's about this big, and this much of it was the lens, and then it kind of angled up, and it was gray and red. I wish I could remember the name of it, but that was. Yeah, it was a mini DV camera, and that was the one that we thought like we were real hot shit because we had access to that camera in high school,
Yeah, back in that day, right? Like you had access to a camera and you felt like really cool.
Yeah.
Because you're like, whoa, this is awesome.
Now we're all walking around with one in our pocket. That's
how much
times
that's
better
how
than
much
that camera
technology has advanced in 35 years.
Yeah.
Like it went from these bulky cameras to now we're just walking around with cameras in our pockets.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And like cameras, like legit ass cameras that
4K.
Like, that
in your pocket.
That would like beat the shit out of those cameras that cost $8,000 in
easy.
yeah.
120 frames in your pocket.
Yep.
That's crazy, man. Like that's crazy. Not even like when I was in college, like we didn't even have that. I remember like the Rebels, when the Rebels came out when I was in college, the Canon Rebels, those were the hot things, man. We were like, oh, these are nice. They were like shoot 60 frames. Yeah, the DSLR era, like they came in 60 frames. So I was like, oh, slow motion looks so good in 60 frames.
Yeah.
It's crazy how far we've come, and honestly, like it hasn't been that long.
No, not at all.
Imagine 35 years, 40, 50 years from now, like where technology with video production is going to be. AI is going to take over, man. They're going to take over our jobs.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Or somebody using AI is going to take over. Yeah.
So Richmond, and then you went to college. Where'd you go to college?
JMU, James Madison, in Harrisonburg, Virginia too. It's like in the mountains in over by like UVA, that area.
Okay. And what was your degree in?
It was media arts, and then I got bored, so I added a second major. I added English to that.
Overachiever.
I was like, well, like I said, like it's like all the same shit that I learned in high school. I'm like, what am I? Yeah, I can't. I'm working on my business, but you want to learn something in college.
Yeah. So how long was that degree? How long were you in college for? 4 years.
Yeah.
And you got a bachelor's or?
Yeah, bachelor. I went in like you assume, media, film, TV, and English. I'd get a Bachelor of the Arts. But my last semester, I had my first ever meeting with a guidance counselor, and she was like, "Hey, you owe us like 2 Spanish classes, and if you want this Bachelor of the Arts." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, didn't know that. And she's like, "Or you can take a math class and you can get a Bachelor of the Science." So I got a Bachelor of the Sciences.
Wow.
Yeah, with all these artistic, concentrations. But yeah, 4 years.
And your school, was it more practical or was it more theory based?
Oh, I would say on the media side, more practical. Although probably because of my kind of practical expertise already, I engaged in more of the theory stuff. So it's like I opted more for like storytelling classes and like understanding like how like adaptations are, like I took a class where, we read the book and then watched the movie and then like dissected how they made decisions adapting this book to a movie or stuff like that, which I thought was really valuable in like understanding storytelling.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I mean, on the English side, a lot of it was just reading and writing. I guess that's theory, primarily.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But did you have like like set design or like an editing class or like After Effect class? Yeah. Those type of classes that will eventually obviously help you out in your journey.
Yeah. I took. There were like editing, like 201 and 301 courses. Nothing set design. Took a pretty good Photoshop class. Photoshop's one of those programs. It's like After Effects to me, where it's just like it's so fucking huge. Like it's like you could learn something new about one of those two every day for like the next 6 years and still not know half of it. But that was fun. But probably one of the more formative, ironically, because I don't think I did great in the class, but one of the more formative classes was an advertising class where it was talking about kind of the business of all of this, right? And like I learned little stuff about like a professor told a story of how he had a meeting with a client for a commercial that they were interested in, and went off to go make his proposal, him and his team, and they came back with a proposal for this thing. They had called rental houses to get quotes on techno cranes, and had called, they were going to get a camera car and like a 2-ton grip truck and all this shit. And then, they go back to the client. The client's like, "Oh, I only wanted to spend like $1,000 on this," and they're like, "We never like got aligned on budget before we went to do all that," And so luckily I never made that mistake, because I had the professor tell me that story. So it was like stuff like that was really helpful. Where it's like, I got to, rent their mistakes, for the low cost of a semester in college.
What do you think about going to film school like nowadays? So like, would you recommend someone to go to film school nowadays?
Okay, I'm gonna try to be political with my answer, because I know like some people really they want to be there, and I'd be interested in your take on this too, because we're both here now, right? But whenever somebody asks me that question, I always say, the thing, I mean, just sure, but be aware of what you're purchasing, because I think if you go into film school thinking that you're purchasing like skills, if that's your buy, just go to YouTube. Don't go to film school. Like you'll go make the stuff. Like you'll figure it out a lot faster than you'll be taught it, for sure. But the value of film school is if you realize that you're purchasing a little black book full of contacts, right? Like, and if you treat it accordingly, where it's like, okay, in these 2 years or 4 years, however long you go for, it's like, I'm going to make the best of friends with as many fucking people as humanly possible. Where it's like, I'm going to be on everybody's call list for when their project comes up. Every single teacher here, when a studio reaches out to them for an intern, is going to suggest me. Like that's, if you go in with like that mindset, like that's your end game, that's why you're paying to be there, then yeah, it's, I would say, a worthy investment. But most people don't go in with that end game in mind, I would say. What do you think?
I think if it's worth it if you're not paying for it. If you have like a grant a grant, or if someone sponsoring to go to film school. Because I think the experiences you'll get in there are invaluable. Like I got a lot of great experiences just from being in film school. But everything I did learn there, I could have learned outside of film school. What I got from film school is like meeting a lot of cool people with the same mindset and the same hunger to go out and just make dumb stuff. And that's where you learn a lot of the stuff that helps you out later in life. Like we would go out and make short films and spend like days creating short films. And I think that's where you get the most value.
It's a team sport. That's what's interesting. It's like if you want to be like a kick-ass chef, like if you really want to learn like chef skills, you go to a grocery store, you buy a bunch of onions and you practice chopping them, and then you buy a bunch of potatoes, you practice chopping them, and you practice this, and to practice filmmaking. Like you have to convince like 18 people to get involved, or like maybe more conservative, like at least 3 people to get involved. And so that's what it's like networking, right? So it's like that's where you are surrounded by those people. And they have a vested interest in helping you because they want you to help them. And so it's a very kind of target rich environment for building out a network like that, I'd say.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say film school, you probably don't have to go to film school nowadays to learn everything and to get into the business. Because I think in this industry, it's like who has a lot to do with it. And obviously your skills too, but those you can learn over time.
Yeah, it's almost entirely who you know. That's why I say again, like it's the network is king. It's like assume that everybody can do what you do, if not better. Like no matter how good you are, like you're in Los Angeles. Like it's like you are in the place.
That's true.
Where the experts are, right? Like all the studs are here, all the A players are here. Assume everybody here is a fucking killer, and like now what? So it's like okay, your skills aren't what's gonna punch through the wall because everybody here is skilled. So what's going to punch through the wall? It's going to be your network.
Networking, getting to know people. Yeah, that's right.
Our friends here.
So 4 years in film school or school.
School. Yeah.
School. And then after that, how did your life look like after you finished school? What were your thoughts and what were your plans?
Yeah, I had like, right when I graduated, it was like a knee-jerk reaction. I went and got a desk job. Like I went, like after all of that, after everything we've just discussed, like I was like, okay, I'm going to put on a suit and tie and work in a cubicle now. Like it's like, and I think it's just one of those, you're an adult now, do adult things. Like it just felt like the thing I was supposed to do. So I moved to DC, which is a cool town. Have you ever been to DC?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
been there a couple of times. One time.
It's small. Like, you figure it out pretty quickly, but it's a cool town, lots of cool people.
What made you move to DC?
It's just kind of where everybody was. Like a lot of people from my school moved up there.
Okay.
And I got a job up there at an association for food manufacturers, like people that make breakfast cereals and snacks and things.
So
like
nothing
that.
to do with
nothing at all. Like it's like literally nothing at all like that my life has been about.
Yeah.
And so, it was just like, I need a paycheck. I need healthcare. I need, it was like all these boxes I needed to check.
Yeah.
And so I went there and I did the corporate America thing for 3 months. That's all it took. It was like 2 months in, I was ready to go. And, on month 3, my boss's boss took me out to dinner, a couple blocks away from the White House, fancy steakhouse. And, we're in our suits after work, and he offered me my own committee at the association, which is a pretty big deal. It's nobody here knows. Nobody's watching this knows what associations do, but like it was a big deal for that industry to offer a 21-year-old a responsibility like this. And at that dinner, he made the offer, and literally, I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna move to LA actually, and get involved in the film industry. And he said, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about that for the rest of this dinner, And so we just chatted that out. And like 2 weeks later, I was driving across the country because it was just, I just needed that. Yeah. I feel like I needed to like touch it.
Yeah.
I needed to touch that life, and be like, oh, no.
So then that was the moment you said, okay, I got to move to LA.
Yeah, I'm piecing to LA. Yeah.
And pursue my what I really want to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. What year was this? When was this? How old were you when this happened?
I was 21. This is 2011. And it was, I literally, I started making short films when I was 7,
Jeez.
So it's like literally like my first, it's May the 5th, May the 4th, I made a Star Wars short. That was my first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my first ever film. And I cast kids from my class in it, and we premiered it in the cafeteria of my elementary school. And so it's been like ever since I was a kid, and so it was like, I at least owed it to that kid to come over here,
right.
I don't think he would.
So 3 months, and then after that, okay, I gotta do something about this. And really pursue what I want to do. So you moved to LA, 2011. Did you have plans? Were you alone? What were your plans moving out here?
I had no plans, man. I had no plan. I'd be interested to see if because you maybe had more of a plan because you went to film school, but I came out. So all right. I had a buddy who went to film school as well, so he had some buddies out here. Like they all kind of congregated in Sherman Oaks, and I had a bedroom in Sherman Oaks that I knew I could sleep in. Right. I had a little bit of a savings. I had, I think, like 7 months worth of rent to my buddy, which is like, he was just like, give me a couple $100 a month. Like it wasn't, and that was it. I was like, I'll just go out there and kind of make shit happen.
Dude, that's crazy. We have like very similar stories.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so what'd you do?
I moved out here in 2012.
Okay.
So I moved out here in 2012.
We were probably neighbors. Like
I was living in Koreatown. Also, same thing. So I was living. I was in Texas. One of my buddies called me one time. He's like, "Hey, if you're gonna move, because I was gonna move to Austin."
Okay.
And then he's like, "If you're gonna move, like move to LA. If you really want to experience the film industry."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. So then I made the decision to move out here, and he flew out to Texas and drove with me out here.
Oh, that's epic.
And I was staying with him too. Just that's like,
epic. And we both drove here. I drove with my dad.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like very similar kind of stories. I moved out here in 2012 just to pursue my career as well.
Wow.
And staying with a buddy as well while I was like looking for work and looking for,
figuring
it out. Yeah.
What was like your first big, like, okay, I've got a foot in the door moment? Like, did you have like one of those?
Yeah. I think working at Dick Clark Productions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Where I worked at Dick Clark Productions. I got like a 6-week contract with them.
Okay.
As like a video editor. I was like editing like Spanish, like a YouTube video for them. But that was like the first big thing that I was like, thank God. Like,
and that was you go into the studio for that?
Yeah. I would go in there and like I would edit there in like their studio for. But yeah, that was my first big thing. What about you? What was your first big like I guess break when you moved to LA?
I would say it was I assistant directed Andrew Dice Clay's comeback special for Showtime.
Oh,
that was a big one, and it was again like to the theme of networking. I had done little short films and things with buddies where it's just on PA on this and whatever. Like it's the entry level stuff. And then I started just waking up early in the morning and going to a different Starbucks in Sherman Oaks each morning, and I would just kind of like insert myself into conversations in the Starbucks because everybody would kind of have their group, and it's like everybody shows up and so I started making friends at this one particular Starbucks on Coldwater in Ventura in Sherman Oaks, and one of those guys was a big producer of stand-up comedy for Showtime, HBO, what have you, and he invited me to his block party, and which was a cool moment because I got to meet a couple famous people, and him and I are chatting, and he's like, my assistant director just quit on me for this thing that we're doing, and she got a gig in New York or whatever. This thing we're doing in Chicago, and I was like, I can do that. I can do that for sure. He's
Everything leads back to networking.
Yeah, and he goes, "Oh, have you ever done it before?" I was like, "Yeah, it's a piece of cake. Like it's I did it for this short and this. I'm lying through my teeth right now, right? It's like I've done it in this. Okay, cool. Well, let's meet about tomorrow morning at Starbucks. It's okay, great. Go in my car, and I immediately Googled, what does an assistant director do? What do I need to know? How do I need to, to speak intelligently about being an assistant director?
Before ChatGPT?
Yeah. So I knew I had all night to figure out, like, okay, like, here's how I'm going to tell him I'd approach this. And, I know this is how I'm being scored on this. And a few weeks later, I was in Chicago, and assistant directing a crew of like 60 people on, this stand-up comedy special.
That's a huge gig.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's that... would have taken, if you went the traditional route, that's a decade of PA.
Yeah,
and then,
you definitely got a way bigger gig than I did.
It's just like
for your first gig.
I mean, what did you say, Dick Clark? That ain't nothing to.
No, it was cool. Dick Clark Productions was fun, and that was my first thing. But same thing. I would just do PA stuff and help friends with film and things like that. But let's fast forward. So your business, right? You work on it with your wife.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go back, and where did you meet your wife, and when did you guys decide to, I guess, work on this together?
That's fun. I don't get to tell this story on podcasts.
Is that cool?
Stuff. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Courtney and I met in in Hollywood. We both lived in Hollywood, or no, we hadn't moved to Hollywood. We were both about to move to Hollywood like a week later. But we met on Hollywood Boulevard in a random bar that neither of us would ever be caught dead at. Right. So it's like, she was there, like her friend was dating a guy where like this was his spot. And so they were there begrudgingly. And I was there because a buddy of mine who's a brilliant guitarist thought it was like a blues bar that he likes to go to in Chicago. And of course it wasn't, but it was like a death metal bar with like skulls on the walls and shit like that. And we were like, all right, well, we're here. Might as well get a drink, you know? And so that's where I met Courtney.
Okay.
And, you know, we just kind of bonded over making fun of the situation.
When was this? How many years were you already been in LA?
Just like it was months after I moved
so pretty
out.
recent after you moved there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I had still lived in Sherman Oaks at the time, but I was shopping apartments in Hollywood because I was like, I need to get I'm 21 years old and Hollywood's right there. Like, what am I doing in Sherman Oaks, you know? So we both moved to Hollywood and we were, you know, friends, and we realized we moved across the street from each other. Like literally across the street. Like it was like
what a love story,
right? Like it's like, or like she's probably thinking like this guy's a creep. Like this is, you know, but it was literally like open the door, walk across the street, you're at her door. And so, you know, we became fast friends, and the relationship blossomed from there. But you know, she's tenacious. Like she went to cooking school. She went to Cordon Bleu, and she taught cooking, and you know, she's got an entrepreneurial spirit, and that was, we were always talking about that. And you know, she didn't join the business until years later. When she stopped teaching cooking, she was just kind of like, I want to like cook for fun now, you know. And
maybe I should have Courtney on the podcast too, and
you
then
really get her. She's got a lot to talk about.
Get her side of the story and all this.
This could be fun. Yeah. All right. Cool. We'll text her after this.
Yeah. Right. Like, hey, you need to come on the pod
check
now.
my work on this. But no, it was So she started working. We started working together maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I'd say.
Okay.
So. Yeah, we were either just about to get married or already married I'd say just about to get married when we started working together. And it was, and you know, by some coincidence, that's when we started doing really good. That's when the business started really kicking off, was when Courtney got her hands on it. But
okay.
Yeah, it was, it's fun.
So let's go back to your freelancing here in LA. When did you start freelancing?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's, I would say that I was always freelancing. It was always a kind of how I subsidized the journey. You know, it was
did you ever have like a job, like a 9-to-5 job?
Outside of the DC thing, there was only one moment, and it was years into my freelance journey where I had a, you know, I'd still consider it freelance, but it was an editing gig where, you know, it was with Disney, and they brought me in to edit a thing, or Disney XD, and they brought me in to kind of be the old guard with a bunch of young editors. And again, I lasted like 2 weeks on that, and I was just like, it's just not what I do. You know? It's like I don't like having to ask permission to go home. You know, like I don't like. It's just I want to be the guy that's calling the shots. And so that didn't last very long. I don't think we didn't get along that well. Me and those producers for those reasons. So no judgment on them whatsoever. I probably wouldn't have got along with me in that position either.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've always been freelance. It's always just been, you know,
and always like video production.
Yeah, it was always video. You know, in the early days, it was whatever. If you're paying me money, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, like when I first moved when I was living in Sherman Oaks, like I was like, there was one gig where, you know, I was transcribing a stuntman's memoirs. Like he literally, like he was like dictating his memoirs, and then he would email me the file, and I had to type out like what he was saying, you know, or I'd help an ice cream company with their social media presence or something like that. You know, whatever it took. But then for the most part, it was video up until very recently, when we've kind of shut the video business down now in favor.
And how would you go about, like back then, right? How would you go about getting clients?
You know, until I figured it out, it felt like pure dumb luck. Like it just felt like chance, where it's like, oh yeah, so and so has a thing, and you know, it was like there was no real methodology to it. And then it quickly became, you know, in-person networking. It would be probably my deadliest weapon. It's like what we talked about, like going to Starbucks and networking there, right? Like or my kind of the niche that I ended up solving the most problems for was B2B networking meetings and events, where having my buddies at the old association came in handy because that's kind of their thing. And you'd go to these events to film, to interview a bunch of CEOs about, the industry that they're in. And you're at a networking event, might as well network, know? And so I'd meet a bunch of people there and pass out business cards back when that was a thing, know? And, and that's where I'd find my next 3 clients. And then I'd go to their events and find, so a lot of it was very in-person, press to flesh type stuff for sure.
Yeah. And how would you go about like pricing back then? Would you price very little, like kind of like just whatever I can get?
Yeah. I mean, I would say originally it was, I definitely priced my wallet, not the clients, for a very long time, where it was like, okay, my rent is $800. I'll price this at $800, or, it's without realizing that I'm probably leaving like, 15 grand on the table right now, or I'm probably, so it took me a minute to realize the value of what we do, right? The value, or to think of it as more than just like my hours and whatever the gear rental cost me. And so that took me, I'd say a good chunk of my early career. There's a story, there's kind of an aha moment for me. You've probably heard me tell it on my podcast in the studio here at some point, but it was, I had a call with a client, who I was doing social media work for. And he asked, hey, can you, do you ever do live video? Like, 3-camera live video thing, because he wanted to cover this thing at a conference. And I was like, yeah, I do that. And he's like, how much would you bill for that? And like my going rate was like $800 for a project at the time. And, I to this day, I'm not really sure why, but I was like, it's probably like 20 grand, like that was, I took a look at my setup, my box of clothes, my box of books. And I thought, yeah, it's 20 grand. And he said, okay, cool. Send me, whatever you need for a deposit, and and book your flights.
So he was just okay with it.
Yeah, and which the speed with which I got the yes for that makes me. I'm like, I probably could have gotten 50 grand on this thing.
So what were your thoughts in that moment when you're like, wow, like I can't believe this guy's willing to pay me this much?
I was young enough to where it wasn't even like that exciting. It was more like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. Like, this is from now on, this is what I charge.
What made you like charge that much though? That like in that phone call?
I have no idea. It was like literally just I think it probably like post gaming it now. I think I probably felt what I know now to be true is that like the worst thing that could happen is he just goes, I can't afford that. What can you do for this number? That's literally the worst that can happen ever. Like when you're quoting that's the beauty of quoting in person versus punting to email and sending the quote via email. Because if you send the quote via email, they can just disappear. They can just ghost you. But if you talk about money in person, they have to say, if I say, it's about 20 grand, he has to react to that number, and either he's going to say, great, let's do it, or oof, that's pretty rough. Can we do something closer to 10? Mm-hmm. And then I go, yeah.
And it's still way above what you were charging.
I go, yeah, I'll figure it out for 10. I'll figure out what the $10,000 version of this idea looks like. And, but that's the worst that can happen is that somebody just asks, what can you do for this?
Yeah.
And if it's a number that you literally can't do it for, then you say you can't pull that off, but you maintain a relationship with that person.
Yeah.
You say, I'll try to help you. I'll try to help you find someone that can do it for that. But, as an expert in this matter, I can tell you, you're probably not going to get the result that you're looking for, but we'll try for you.
Yeah. What are some of the clients that you've worked with throughout your freelance journey?
Oh, like so many that nobody's ever heard of. So I want to caveat the list that's about to come out of my mouth with that, right? It's like, it's the people that nobody's ever heard of are the ones that have made me more money, that have been better relationships, that, I've worked with for years and years. But in addition to those people, we've worked with Netflix, Google, Lionsgate, Hulu, Adobe, Hillshire, all it's a big like
quite a list.
It's a fun list for sure. But like again, like there's a lot of these brands, or when you get in the room with these guys, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Like it's not.
It's almost not as creative, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing, and it's it's definitely helps with your business's marketing to be able to put those logos on a landing page. To be able to say these are the people we've worked with. But I don't think you. This is my personal conjecture. Somebody watching this maybe has a different experience, but I don't think you can build a thriving business off of those types of brands alone, right? Off of those types of relationships alone. You can certainly make some pretty, some pretty decent cash here and there. But it is like they're huge time investments. Like it's, I don't know. It's a tricky, it's a whole different kind of ball game, I would say, than, coming in and being a strategic partner for, like a logistics company that doesn't know their way around this particular implementation, or and they're happy to just say, hey, do your thing, babe. Like just make it happen for us, and then you get to go look awesome because they let you do your thing, versus kind of playing the politics of kind of more of the, the hot shit A-list brands.
Yeah. So what would you do for them?
Yeah, different things. I mean, for the most part, we because like I said earlier, our B2B was kind of our bread and butter, B2B events and things. And so, that's the angle we came into these brands at, is like, okay, we work with the B2B teams, so it's all stuff that like, it's not like customer facing things. It's more like, okay, I won't say the brand's name to match it with the job. I'll just tell you the job, but it's like, okay, brand A is creating a library that they want their users to be able to watch, their top talent to be able to, watch and get value out of. And so they're going to go spend $100,000 per video, to go produce this thing. We'll pull a half-ton grip truck up to a studio somewhere and film it. Or, brand B is launching a kind of a behind the scenes app, a back end for publicists to use to get, XYZ done. And they need a series of explainer videos, kind of showing the publicists what's possible with this new app. So it's stuff like that. It was more B2B purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for what, 16 years now?
Yeah, man.
16 years?
Yeah.
We've
been doing this for 16 years.
It's been so long, man. It's crazy. It's crazy to even think about that. Can you share some of the key moments within this 16 years that you can think of?
That's it. Just share some of the key moments.
Just 16 years.
Oh, some of the big ones.
Some big moments that maybe like shifted your career and maybe even your mindset on. You already shared one, for example, that moment where you charged $20,000.
Yeah, I think.
Any other moments like that you can think of?
That's a big one. There are a couple like pricing related moments like that. There was probably one where more was at stake, because I feel like that, when you're 20, 21, living in your buddy's house, not really on the hook for much financially, like it's easy to take a big shot like that, because it's like, oh, fuck it. Like if I don't make the money this month, I'll be fine. Like what do I gotta be able to afford, Taco Bell for the month. Like it's not that big of a deal if they say no. But a few years into my career, I had a moment where it would have been a big deal if they said no. And it was a customer of ours had just dominated our schedule. Or I guess it was mine, that Courtney wasn't working with me yet. So it was a customer of mine had just dominated my schedule. And I couldn't grow my business because I was doing nothing but work for this agency. And I had to call the CEO and double my rate so that I could afford subcontractors so that I could go do things for me too. And that was scary, because if they said no, by nature of the problem, I hadn't had time to diversify my client base. It was just them. So if they said no, I wasn't making any money. And I was living with Courtney at the time. So we're sharing rent. We're not married, So it's like, if I don't make any money, I'm not holding up my end of the rent with this woman who I'm trying to impress. So that was a big moment for me, was, making sure that I never put myself in that situation again. Right. So it was, and it worked out. Like it takes courage. I had the call. I booked the call with the CEO, and the words came out of my mouth. I have to double what I'm charging you, or we can't work together anymore. And we had a nice conversation about it, and it worked out fine for me. But I'll be damned if I ever have to have that conversation again. Like that was I hung up the phone and I was like charged. I was like, okay, cool, done. That's never fucking happen again. Like it's, so from now on, I'm diversifying my client base at all times. I'm always going to price like I need to subcontract every job. So I'd say that was a big moment for me, definitely. Obviously Courtney coming in was huge.
Yeah.
Our decision to get on social media was a big one, because we didn't do anything on social media for so long. Like when I started posting on Instagram, so Courtney and I, we had a maybe like a 2-week long kind of intermittent powwow about this, like, because we wanted to start scaling digital products and productized services and things like that beyond the work we were subcontracting and doing ourselves. And we were trying to decide, okay, well, who's the audience going to be? Is it going to be like other video people, or is it going to be agency owners? Like, who are we going to be making content for? And we settled on just fellow freelancers, like people that maybe, because it was COVID and people were losing their jobs left and right. And so, we were thinking, okay, how can we reassure those people and let them know that they actually, believe it or not, you have a lot of options. Like you can actually probably make more money doing this than you did at the job that just fired you. And so that's the path we took. So we weren't even doing it to get clients. We were just doing it to build an audience to one day sell a digital product to or something. And I'll say 6 months into making content.
So is that when that shift happened from going from like a kind of freelancer working with like other businesses trying to get clients to kind of producing your own content to basically share like your knowledge that you've learned throughout your journey?
Yeah.
Is that when that happened?
That's exactly when it happened. It was like, and it was to supplement. That was the goal, because we had built our agency in a way that was as scalable as it could be, right? It was, at first we raised our rates, and then we started subcontracting, and then, we have a pretty large band of subcontractors that we could, so we could keep doing more and more for our clients. But like at a certain point, you got to add something like a digital product to keep growing, right? So that was the point. That was the objective, was to add something to this agency business. But within 6 months of having the social media, with no targeted content towards our clients at all, I was getting on sales calls, and whoever I was talking to, the EVP of communications or the agency owner or whatever, would recognize me from TikTok, right? And I'm not targeting them at all. And I'm going, oh, interesting. So it's, this stuff is making its way over into their networks, and, and I joke now, it's like, when a call starts with, oh, I follow you on TikTok, like, it's not a sales call anymore, right? Like now it's okay, like you've earned their trust, and it's like, why would they hire anybody other than the guy that everybody else they're talking to is taking advice from on the internet? Even if they could probably teach me a thing or two, but they're not on the internet, they're not on social media. So
is that when you started building your community?
Yeah.
And then you started kind of sharing more of your stories on TikTok and Instagram.
Yep. Yeah. It's pretty wild. That was, we made an ebook first. And that was a pretty cool experience. For people that are interested in a digital product or building something like that out, there was a moment where, like, literally we launched the ebook, put it out on Shopify, and then, Courtney and I went to the mall that night and, I remember we went into Under Armour and bought a bunch of clothes. Like, that shit ain't cheap. Went and spent like $500 at Under Armour. And when I walked out of Under Armour, I looked at my phone and I had made more money in the time that I was in there picking out clothes and buying them than I had spent. So it's just purely off of selling this ebook, right? And I think, okay, this is a moment. This is like, okay,
that was a moment.
Like something's going on here, right? Where it's like
just off of ebook.
Yeah.
And what was in this ebook? It's
just freelance. It's called Freelancer Year One.
It's still available.
Yeah, it's still available, and it's just about the things you do, to start your freelance journey.
Okay.
And so that was, that was a big moment for us where it's like, okay, well, this is what that passive income thing is that everybody talks about. Heavy quotes on passive, because you have to build an audience and you have to write the ebook, and then you have to promote the ebook, and then you have to always promote the ebook. But then, after that, sponsors started coming along, and a major brand. I remember it's another moment. Courtney and I, we had a huge campaign for a client of ours, make 4 animated videos, had a whole team involved. It's 4 weeks of work, right? Lots of management, lots of late nights. And then on the last week of that production phase, a major brand emails me about my social media and says, hey, we want you to post a video about this new product we're launching. And their budget was how much we were making in margin on this 4-week-long animation project. So it was like, just to post a video I made on my cell phone in 20 minutes.
Wow.
And so that was another one where we went, what are we doing here? Where should we be allocating our attention? Social media is a huge asset if for somebody who's interested in it. Yeah, definitely.
It's a free tool, right?
Yeah. It costs nothing to get on there.
It's true. What do you think the difference is between like being a freelancer and a business owner?
That's big. That's a big conversation.
Yeah.
It's a conversation of our time too. I think I call it workforce 3.0. The way that we work is completely changing. It's literally, we're seeing major companies start bringing in individual freelancers to solve huge problems for them. So where it used to be, okay, we'll bring in one of the big 12 agencies to come in here and workshop this problem. Now it's like, I'll hire this one person who's deadly at taking care of this, and I'll let them iterate, throw them however much money they need to make it happen. And then once they have the fix for us, we'll send it to an agency. So that's all to kind of set the stage to answer your question here, is like, I think this is a big moment for freelancers. But yeah, the difference between a freelancer and like an entrepreneur, I guess is what you'd maybe say.
Yeah.
Is they're getting more and more nuanced. But I would say traditionally an entrepreneur is building something to sell, building a product to sell, building a business to sell, and generally needs to take investment, needs to do a couple of investment rounds or find outside capital to get it taken care of. Not always, sometimes they bootstrap, but that would be in an entrepreneur. A freelancer is selling services, is selling solutions with their knowledge, essentially. So they're not building a product. They're not building a business to sell. They're selling solutions. Now, how these two have combined as we're entering Workforce 3.0 is it's a new type of worker has emerged, and I'm calling them entrelancers, right?
Oh, is this a new word?
It's a new word.
New word?
It's a new word.
You got to coin that.
LinkedIn is pretty fired up on it. I've been talking about it for a little while now.
What is it?
Entrelancers.
Entrelancers.
Right? So it's somebody who's building an entrepreneurial effort using freelancing to subsidize it, using the tenets of freelancing to subsidize it. So it's like, instead of going to an investor and raising capital for your business, you're using your services, you're using your knowledge and your expertise, because it's like really easy to monetize that, right? It's like, cool, yeah, I know how to write. I'll go, I'll be a ghostwriter and I'll take those funds, to subsidize this app that I'm building for writers, or this, like whatever XYZ. We kind of did it when you think about it, right? Is our freelancing generated a product to sell, which was our expertise that we then, transformed into a community and ebooks and what have you. So I would say that, while there is a difference between the two, it's narrowing, and I'd leave it at that.
So would you consider yourself a freelancer still, or a business owner now?
I'd say I'm an entrelancer.
Entrelancer?
Yeah, I'd say I'm
sticking with that?
I'm going to go with it. Yeah, because it is like, I think, because we're still selling services. Like we're still,
Would you say I'm a freelancer, or like more like a business owner with what I do?
I'd say you're an entrepreneur too. That's what I'm saying. I honestly think, because I think I came up with it because this conversation, I've been asked this question so many times, and so many people are like, but I'm building a business, right? But I'm doing this. And I'm like, you're right, you are, like, but you are a freelancer. So what's happening here? And I think what's happening is that it's evolved, right? I think 15 years ago, freelancer meant one thing. Freelancer meant, I'm going to hire you for 2 weeks. You're going to come sit at this desk and you're going to do the things that I ask you to do. And then 2 weeks from now, we part ways. Today, freelancer means you're solving an important problem for somebody and you're charging them whatever you feel like, like, and I think that, you growing that into a business is, you're right there at door number 3 with me.
Yeah. So you've built this community already,
yeah.
right? Can you tell me a little bit more about your community and how you've grown that and how it keeps growing now?
Yeah, for sure. It's called the Freelancing Program, and it's a community and a course. But we were talking a little before this. It's like we're rapidly approaching, if not already at the time, where it's like if anybody wants to know what Jamie has to say about pricing, they can just ask ChatGPT. It's like if anybody wants to know what I have, my thoughts on any business growth matter, just ask ChatGPT. So the information isn't the product. It's like there is a program, there's a course there if you want to learn things kind of in the order that I would suggest you learn them. But really the exciting part, and always the exciting part, has been the community, where it's like, because it only gets more valuable the more we grow it. We've got 1,000 freelancers in there now, but they get to bounce ideas off one another. Or probably the 2 most active rooms in the community would be the client conversations room, where people are literally screenshotting emails from clients and then crowdsourcing what the response needs to be, right? It's like having your group text where it's like, yo, she texted me this, what do I say back? Like that's, but only with clients. And then the other most active room is the wins room, where people say, hey, I fired off this offer and like it's going gangbusters. Like every one of my clients is going for it, because if that's a photographer saying that, you would read that and go, oh, I could do something like that for podcasting clients, I bet, and then let me just move this wire over here and do this. And now I've got a podcasting offer, that's already been tested over here. Like evidently people love it. So I'll just do it for me. Yeah. So that's been really cool. Like, I mean, we built the whole thing with that type of practicality in mind, where it's.
And how does someone like join your community or this program?
Right now it's actually, we're not accepting members, but that's about to change. So by the time this is live, it's probably open again. Okay. And it's just, you go to, any of my, you can go to thefreelancingprogram.com, or you can go to any of my social media and, engage with me there, and we can chat about it.
And you said you have like 1,000 people in there now?
Yeah, we got a little over 1,000, a little north of 1,000.
Okay.
And it's, it runs the gamut. Like literally, like we've got architects, lawyers, photographers, artists.
So freelancing, right? Is it any type of freelancing, or it's not like video production freelancing?
No, yeah, it's any kind of
freelancing.
Yeah, anybody's in there. Yeah,
gotcha.
And that's the fun of it. Like it's, I mean, you've probably gotten this advice like when from your film school and stuff. It's like the best directors, learn from they're stealing from everything. Or it's like they'll go to an art museum and it's like, and they're looking at a piece of art, and saying, okay, how do I'm gonna make that into a frame in my next movie, and I think that's what's going on here, where it's like, it's very industry agnostic. It's what worked over there likely will work over here if you just move a couple things around, so that's been the exciting part about it.
So social media has been a big part of your growth.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that something that you tell people that are in the community to just post a ton of content and put yourself out there?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. There's a strategy involved though, I mean, because if you're posting the wrong, you could post 100 times a day, and if it's bullshit, like it's not gonna do anything for you. It's just gonna make you tired. So like a lot of it has to do with identifying who your niche is. Like you got to know who you're talking to first, what your goals are. Without a goal, you can't score. But and then going and being valuable and making content that is either savable or shareable by your niche, right? That's the big one. It's like, because if you don't have a niche, then your target's the entire internet and you don't know what's going to be savable or shareable, right? And that's where everybody fails. So it's like, you got to pick the target.
Sure. What about people that, I mean, you're very, very comfortable in front of the camera. You just seem like you're just like a natural, right? I'm sure that's come up with time
for sure,
for doing this for, 16 years.
Yeah.
But what about people that aren't that comfortable being in front of a camera and just kind of don't really want to be in front of the camera? Like, what advice would you give them?
I would tell those people, I'd call bullshit on it. And I'd let them know that, if you film yourself for 2 weeks, you'll get comfortable in front of a camera. It's one of those things that's just like, just break through the wall. Just do it. Like, just sit, like talk like you're talking to a friend, write questions and answer don't like write a script, like write questions and answer them, right? Like you would if somebody was asking for your advice. And then, edit it into something that plays the game of social media later. But in addition to all of that, it doesn't have to be video. Like if that's what's stopping you from getting started, go on LinkedIn and like make a bunch of written content, because that's still king on LinkedIn, or Twitter or whatever, like at Medium, like Substack. Like there's plenty of places where you don't have to be playing the game of video to excel, for sure.
Yeah. So how many followers or subscribers have you gained since you started posting?
We are a little north of 550,000 followers across all of social media, right?
Wow,
it's
congrats.
cool, right? Like it's like, but it's cool to just see, like it's humbling and also gratifying, I guess, to see that like we're all kind of dealing with the same stuff, like across all these industries, and like of all of those people, how many times? Because I'm very particular about not talking about what I do on social media, like so it's like nobody. And if you could watch all of my content and have no idea that I produce video, right?
Yeah.
That's my career. And so it's really funny how everybody kind of fills in that blank for themselves. Like I'll get comments that are like, dude, you are the best web designer on Instagram, or like, dude, you have the best photography advice on Instagram, or if I ever need legal advice, you're one of the best lawyers out there, and it's like literally I've gotten so many because they just assume that I'm their thing, because of how ubiquitous all these problems are, or how industry agnostic these challenges are. And so it's been fun at that level to see how we're all kind of the same.
So with about 500,000 followers with all your social medias combined, right?
Yeah.
What are 3 tips you can give people about starting their like freelance journey?
3 tips to start your freelance journey. I would say first, it all starts with the offer. That's if you can't, you've got to fill in the blanks for this sentence right here. Is I solve X problem for Y person to Z result. Right? It's like let me
write something else here. Right?
Write that sentence out. And the more specific the person and the more painful the problem, the faster you're going to grow, and the more you're going to get the charge for it. That specificity is rewarded. I think too many people, like if they want to get into the graphic design game, for instance, they're like, I'm a graphic designer. And that's their sentence, right? You need something designed? I got you. Like, okay, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to go find people? How are you going to go generate leads, right? And why are leads going to give a shit in the first place? Like, it's like, you're okay. I'm a generalist. I do a graphic design thing. Do you need me? It's not helpful. But if you say, I design graphic social media assets for direct-to-customer makeup brands that convert at least 10 times industry standard, then you know exactly where to go to find your customers. Where are the makeup brands, right? Where are the execs? I'm going to go on Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, and I'm going to search for execs of direct-to-consumer makeup brands, with 5 to 20 employees. It's going to spit out a couple thousand leads for you. And when you meet up with them, it's about matchmaking. Then it's not about nurturing, right? Because you've got a specific problem that they're having. You don't have to convince them that they're having this problem. They need to solve it. It's just the whole game gets a lot easier the more specific you can get about that offer. So that's the first thing I'd say is nothing's going to get done without that offer. Or something might get done, but you'll take 8 years to get where you could have gotten in 2 years. And the next thing I'd say is you got to go make some examples of you solving that problem next, right? And a lot of people think that means client work, and that's not you can go do that this week. Like you wouldn't need a client to film a podcast. Look at us, right? Like it's like you just like call someone and say, "Hey, come film this thing," right? Like it's and at voila, you've got a podcast to show off, right? Like or same with the graphic designer, right? Say that we'll keep the same example, making ads for makeup brands. Like pick 3 this weekend and make a set of ads for them, right? Or make up 3 brands and make a set of ads for them. But you need that, those examples. Otherwise, it's gonna be very difficult for somebody to imagine the end result of working with you and get excited about the end result of working with you. And then the third thing is you would take that offer, take that portfolio, and activate your network against it, right? So it's, what we've started this whole conversation talking about is the value of a network.
Yeah.
Like email every human being you've ever met in your life with that portfolio attached to it and 1 or 2 sentences about the problem you're solving for whom, and say, I know you're a connected individual. I know you've got buddies. It would really mean a lot to me if you could pass this on to somebody that you think would benefit from this, right? And that's probably going to get you your first 1 or 2 gigs, and then you're off to the races.
Great tips.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, baby.
Yeah. How do you balance like producing all this content for yourself, but also like working with your clients that you're still working on with?
That's that was a big one for me to figure out. And it was, because I'd say for the first year, like I came in really gung ho and like, okay, I'm going to batch all my stuff. And like, within a month I was writing, shooting, editing, and posting a piece of content the day of, like that's how quickly I fell behind on my batch posting schedule. So, and when you're doing that, you're not doing client work. So that was a big one we had to learn. And I spent probably a year figuring out what the subcontracting model would have to look like with my business for me to be able to go all in on figuring out social media. And then once I was comfortable with it, I could start subcontracting components of social media and come back over here to the business and take a little more, responsibility back from the subcontractors. So I think it's been a process for sure. Figuring out what that ratio is. And most recently, we kind of pivoted from not doing video so much as doing social media strategy, because now one effort informs the other. One effort on social, is basically a case study for what we could do with our clients, and vice versa. Something that works for our clients, we'll go over here and use on social. So that makes it a lot easier too, like getting those 2 efforts closer to one another.
Yeah.
But ultimately it is like, this is where pricing for subcontracting comes in handy. Because, if you're not priced where you could live off the margin, then you don't get to do stuff like that. You don't get to figure this out, right? Like if I needed to be at the desk working all the time for my clients, I wouldn't have the time to go figure out the social media thing. But because we have priced it in a way where, if Jamie's doing it, we're making a shitload of money. But if somebody else is doing it or 3 other people are doing it, we're at least making enough money to pay for the things we need to pay for. Because we've set it at that, I now have the luxury of going over and chasing this idea down, and that's, I think, that's probably one of the biggest benefits of like pricing appropriately.
Yeah, 100%. Are you still taking on clients for video production?
Not so much, no. It's like as of maybe a month ago. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So shifting over to just social media strategies, your community that you've built, your freelancing program.
Yeah.
Do you have a team that helps you with all this?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You have a team?
Big time. Yeah. We've got on both sides. Like we've got kind of or I guess not so much on the social media strategy side. Anyway. We're building that out now. But back when it was a video, circa 2 months ago, we had our merry band of freelancers. We had videographers that we would send out to events, all over the country, and editors and
all over the country.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were busy. And editors and animators and sound designers, and we have all sorts of folks that we had a great time working with. And so now Now we got to figure out what that team's going to have to look like for the social media stuff.
So you're currently trying to build that team out, and obviously Courtney, she's a big part of that.
She's a massive part of that. Yeah, it's like I've about articulated everything I can say on that front. Everything else you got to interview Courtney for. She keeps that side of the business running for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little personal question here.
Yeah.
What advice would you give me as this business owner, right? I'm running there's a podcast studio.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give me to maybe grow this business more, get more clients, that type of stuff?
I mean, ironically, like literally, I'll come up with some advice in a second, but first I'm gonna gas you up a little bit because when we came in here the first time, very pleased with the fulfillment. Like it was like great fulfillment. Like it's you've optimized for the client and the customer experience here. So it's very, very well done on that front. And then sending me a text, you sent me a text before the files were uploaded, saying how much you enjoyed the session. And by the way, if you could review me here on Google, I'd appreciate it. Right. And I screenshotted it. I wanted to post it to my community.
Okay.
Because I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like this is how you grow a business, right? It's like at the moment when I'm still on the hook, like I don't get my files, like I can't just ghost you, right? Not that you're holding them hostage, but at the right time in the project when the emotions are high, I'm pleased with the end result, but the project isn't over. I haven't gone on to go, open 9 other things for my business. That's when you hit me with the, hey, I'd love a review if you don't mind, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sweet, yeah, easy. Piece of cake to give you that review, right? And that's a big deal, right? Especially with a local business like this where it's like people have to come into a thing.
Yeah.
So nailed that, 10 out of 10. And then on the advice front, I would have to ask first, like what the goal is. Like what are you trying to do with this place? And then we can then I could give some advice to that end. But what's the objective? Like maybe in the next 12 weeks or, half a year, what would magic wand experiment? What would be a perfect result for you?
Yeah. Are you asking me? You want me to answer that?
Yeah. What would you say?
I mean, I would just want to have this place filled. I would want to have my schedule just filled, have like 6 to 8 podcast sessions a day, right? To grow so much that I eventually need to have a couple of more me's, right? Come in here, run a couple sessions. So that's like the main goal, right? Okay. To have the studio just full,
just cooking.
Yeah, just like kind of.
How many do you have a day now normally, or like weekly?
It just depends.
Yeah,
it just really depends. Some people book like 4 sessions and they come in here and do like 4 sessions in a day, which is awesome because that's like almost like a full day.
Yeah.
But in a week, it just depends really on the clients right now. I'm just kind of really trying to still build that clientele.
I feel you.
And have it, just let people know that we're here.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I would optimize for those power users if I were you. I think that's what we call them, hub and spoke clients with our agency. It's agency clients. Like when I was doing video production, it's like I could chase down a brand and, go to all the work of acquiring that lead, nurturing it, converting it, onboarding them, working for them, like all that, like for one brand. Or I could do that for one agency who had 37 clients that I would then do all of their, right? So it's like now it's all the effort of acquiring one client, but all of the benefit of 37 new clients, right? So now I'm doing videos for all of them, And so I would optimize for that with you. So it's like, I'd say you have a power user example, right? Where it's like somebody who comes in and they want to shoot out their whole season in like the span of 3 days or something like that. Like identify who that person is, right? And like go find them online and start building out that offer. But also like who are the social media managers, the publicists, the social media, the influencer publicists, things like that, or the literary publicists in town that are looking for this solution for their clients. Because then anytime one of their clients goes, hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast, they can just send them to you. And you give them some kind of a kickback for it, or you say, because I'm interested in working with you, I'd be happy to give your clients 15% off or something, for a full season, like I would say that those are the 2 big opportunities to like that kind of growth.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you'll get there with one-offs, but you'll get there real quick if you like identify the power users and just chase after them.
Because that's kind of what it feels like right now. It's like one-offs.
Yeah.
You know, there's people that come in and shoot an episode here and there and stuff like that. Or like they shoot an episode and they'll come back like till like next month to shoot another episode. So it's kind of like one-offs right now. So I'm really just still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see, you know, your take on it.
You
if this was your business.
That's how I do it.
If this is, that's how you do it? Okay.
Yeah, that's how I do it. It's like you go find, like, because imagine like if you had a contract with a publicist, right, who's constantly bringing in new clients, you know, whether it's like people that are writing books and she's sending them on book tours or whatever, like, and it's like, hey, for every news interview they have to do, they can come in here and we'll shoot them. You've got the setup here to, you know, let's get them started on a podcast. Let's get them, you know, XYZ. You build out an offer for an author, for any of this publicist authors, you know, and it's like, okay, cool. She's got 10. Go find another publicist. She's got 27. And then this guy's got 14. It's okay. So now you have 3 clients, but really you've got, what was that, 40, 50, 53 or something customers, you know, for the effort of just 3 deals.
Yeah.
And there's your 6 episodes a day right there. You know, those people are going to be in here all the time. So I think that's the play, is to identify those types of clients and then chase after them, and probably on LinkedIn, but also just like by nature of networking in this town, I think it'd be pretty quick to get.
Yeah,
there.
networking for sure. It's the biggest thing. I think that's been the main thing here, right?
Yeah,
networking.
I think we've identified a theme for this episode. Definitely,
it should be called networking or something.
Yeah,
this episode should be called networking with Jamie Brindle.
Networking with Jamie.
Yeah, there we go. So let's see, man. We've talked about so much.
We've covered some ground, dude.
Yeah. No, and I love this.
We're on the back sheet.
You're giving so much great info, man. Like, let me see what else I got here for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a question that I got, and maybe, you know, I'm just gonna ask you. And do you think it's a good idea for someone to quit their 9-to-5 job to start their freelance journey?
Oh, hell yes. I think that and it might just be how like we were taught. It might be a schooling thing. I don't know what it is, but people always say like the 9-to-5 is the safe option, right? And I think the 9-to-5 is now the risky option. I genuinely believe that. Like, that's not like that's not like a social media line. Like, it's like legit. Like, I think because
you could get fired, laid off.
Yeah, and then you got to spend 1.5 years doing 9-round interviews to try and get somebody to pay you something close to what you were getting paid. Like, it's like literally there are so many. Here's the thing. I understand everybody has different priorities in life, and everybody has different goals and objectives. But seriously, like, it's where you point the finger is where the power is, right? So it's like, I think a lot of people don't want to be on the hook for their career. They don't want to be on the hook for like waking up every day and making the decisions that either make them more money or lose them money. And so they go to a 9-to-5 where somebody else is on the hook for that. It's like they show up and this person says, you do these 9 things this year for me and I'll take care of you, and it's a luxury. But you pay for that luxury with your freedom, and you pay for that luxury with this risk, this huge risk, which is, unfortunately, a lot of our 9-to-5 brothers and sisters are about to get punched in the face with. Right? It's like every time I open my news app, it's talking about how here we go. People are starting to get let go left and right, and it's what a great time to consider building something of your own rather than dedicating all that time and energy to building something for someone else.
Yeah.
And all the traditional arguments against freelancing just don't cut the muster anymore. Like, people are like, well, I remember when in the early days I would, post on Instagram about freelancing, and I'd get some kind of shisty 9-to-5ers being like, well, enjoy not having healthcare. And I'm like, I have healthcare, and they're like, well, enjoy not having, a 401k. And it's like, I have a
paid vacation days.
I have a Roth IRA. It's like, I go on vacation. There are weeks when I don't work, like entire 2-3 weeks where I don't work. And I've got subcontractors working for me, or like Courtney and I will look at each other one day and just be like, not it today. Great. Like, let's just go, let's eat out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, And it's freedom. It's pure freedom, because we put in the effort to build something for ourselves. But it's never been easier to do that. Or like, easy's maybe the wrong word, but it's never been simpler to do that, right? Like, when I grew, like I literally had to go door to door. 17-year-old Jamie was going door to door pitching TV commercials, right? Like and I could only communicate with however many businesses I could walk to
physically
that
go
day.
to.
Yeah. Now it's like 17-year-old Jamie, get on LinkedIn, make some noise for you. Like literally, like, I mean, you can send out 200 connection requests a week on LinkedIn, you know? You can comment all day on different posts, different people's posts, and engage in comment sections. And like, it's very, very simple to build a business right now, I guess is the point I'm getting to.
Yeah.
And I think that I personally, the way I'm built, I prefer to have that type of freedom and that type of control over my destiny, right? And I think that anybody who's at a 9 to 5, you know, who's maybe looking over the fence at this world with any type of consternation, like I just want to tell that person that it's not that. It's not what they say it is. It's way easier than they're trying to make you think it is to come over here and do this thing. You know, that's it.
Can you share a success story from maybe someone from your program?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's plenty. There's so many fun ones. You know, one of my favorites is a good buddy of mine now. He added 100,000 to his bottom line, just by you know, enacting a few subcontracting practices that we discussed, like just like identifying like, oh, if I just hired a VA to do this for me, you know, and then a VA to do that for me, then I could have this part of my business just running in the background while I come over here and do the, you know, so I think that was a big one. Like somebody identifying the power of VAs basically.
Yeah.
Which I think that advice might soon be outdated because it's probably about to be the power of AI agents, right? Like be able to do a lot of things for you on the internet. But still, like, I mean, I'm talking to VAs who are mastering AI agents. So it's like, it will be, I'll bring in a VA to do 90 things for me, you know, versus like someone who's doing 3 tasks and then I have to hire somebody else to do another 3 tasks. It's like, now it's like, well, I'll pay this person what I would have paid 7 VAs because I'll be getting the results of 90, you know?
Right.
So it's like, that's where the opportunity is now for those folks with AI. Cause I always, whenever I talk like that, I can feel all the VAs watching start sweating like, oh, I'm going to lose my job. It's like, no, like if you do this, you're going to start making way more money than you ever had in the past. So I'd say that's a big success story. A lot of times, the major successes come from reaching out to past clients, like just in a certain way.
In the follow-ups.
Yeah. It's like, it's how do you present them with a new offer that either builds on what you just did together or solves a new problem that you know they're solving for. That's a big win for a lot of people. And that's, you know, where the wins room comes in handy in the community, because it's like, oh, that's an offer that they reached out to their past clients with. I can build out that offer too and reach out, you know, it's because that's a lot of it is like, you know, your clients aren't sitting around thinking like, oh man, like what else can I hire Zeus for? Like what else can I, you know, what else? It's kind of on you to do that, to reach out and go, hey, we're seeing a lot of success doing this with this client. It made me think of you. Is this something you'd be interested in, you know?
Yeah.
So that'd be another big one that a lot of people, the list goes on, but
yeah, for sure. I'm sure you have a ton of them.
Yeah.
So what are some of your goals? We're already in May, right? This year's just going by.
Yeah.
2025 seems like it's like going by so fast.
It's moving. What is time?
So what are some goals, and have you hit some of your goals already in May? And what are some future goals that you have for this year?
Yeah, I try to not like my atomic unit in the goal setting exercise is 12 weeks. I try not to do big multi-year goals, because I think we underestimate what we can get done in 12 weeks and we overestimate what we can get done in a year, you know? And so I try to fit a year's worth of progress into 12 weeks. And you know, for us right now, a huge one is in-person freelancer meetups. It's we just had one in downtown LA. We sold it out. We were past capacity. Like we thought that, like, you know, everybody tells us, oh, expect like a 40 to 80% show up rate, you know? And so we oversold it accordingly, anticipating maybe an 80% show up rate. We thought that was conservative. And it was like a 98% show up rate. So it was a packed meetup. And so it shows that there's a lot of a lot of people there that just want to network. Like freelancers, it can be lonely. It's, you're kind of like sitting at a desk and you've got your clients, but so we want to do that. We're going to take that show on the road. We're talking to a couple pretty exciting sponsors right now, which is going to be good. And actually got an email from one right before we sat down for this.
So in-person meetups.
In-person meetups.
I think that's a great idea.
Take that nationwide. Yeah. So we're looking at a couple cities to do it in, and have just give people a chance to meet the freelancers in their city, in their town. And then the natural evolution of that is back to our roots is conference. It's that's the niche that I came up in, is the meetings and event space. And there's never been a conference for freelancers for Workforce 3.0, and so we're going to build out a conference on the backs of these meetups.
Well, with these live in-person meetups, maybe we can work together and maybe have one of your meetups here.
Oh, dude, that would be fun.
Yeah,
we'd take over the whole building.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
we can maybe set it up upstairs somehow. And
I haven't even been upstairs.
Yeah, I think didn't I give you a tour?
Oh yeah.
We can go upstairs after. Yeah. But I think maybe that's something maybe we can work on together. That would be cool. Having a live meetup would be awesome.
That'd be epic, dude. Yeah. I'm in. We'll have we'll set up a podcasting station.
Yeah.
So like people can come in and like shoot content and get their first taste of. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I have this idea, right? And now that you're here, I kind of maybe want to run it through you, see what you think. This is something I've been thinking about doing.
Yeah.
Just to maybe like bring more people in here, make people more aware of podcasting and the studio itself. So I want to see what you think. So my idea is like having a podcast experience. And I think that's maybe what I would call it, the podcast experience.
Okay.
And this would be basically targeting just anyone that would want to have this podcast experience, right?
Yeah.
You can come in and you could interview your mom, your dad, your sister, your friend, anyone you want to interview, right? So you would come in here, have that person in front of you, have 30, 40 minutes, and you'll have a full edited podcast already.
That would be fun.
And, that would just be like a service that I would provide here in the studio for anyone that wants to come.
I'd make it a 10-minute podcast. So
10 minutes?
Don't have to.
Okay.
Because they're not pros, so they don't know how to make a interesting 40-minute podcast. But
yeah.
And then you put your logo on that shit and have them,
just send it to them and be like, here's your podcast, right? Yeah. And then maybe after that, if they like it, they can actually start their own podcast.
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of targeting people that are at least tangential to folks that you think would benefit from a podcast. I think that would be fun though. Like, and also like if you think of it as a marketing play, because anything that they like, like even I wonder if it's you post it and they share it. So it's like, it gets posted, right? Like,
right. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and if it comes from your channel,
I think that might be part of it. Yeah. Like it'll go up on my YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
And they can just share that. Maybe give them like a couple clips from that as well too.
Yeah. And then there's a call to action, because then you think it's like, again, back to the one-offs versus power users versus, right? So it's like, you're always looking for one-to-many. Like you never want one-to-one, So it's like, okay, how do I take, Susie Q that comes in here for the podcast experience and turn her into 19 clients? And she's going to post it to her social media, and somebody on that social media is, so Susie might get bit by the bug. She might come back and do more, but somebody on her social media might be actively searching for a podcast studio right now, and be like, oh shit, cool. Where's this? Great. Locked in. Like Susie was there. She liked it. I'm in, Yeah. I think that's a good play. Just make sure that you're using it as like a marketing play.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's an idea that I've had, I have a lot of things that I'm like, okay, how do I make this bigger? How do I let more people know about this? Right? It's all about marketing.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've been trying to focus on here with the studio and this business, just like letting people know it's here. And I think the podcast experience idea would be good.
Yeah.
It would have to be more of a marketing ploy for the studio.
I think another big trap that freelancers and entrepreneurs, business owners fall into is that they think that they need to find a new idea. And it's like, I would also, in addition to that, because it's and not or, you should be like constantly chasing down new marketing plays. But like, take a look at your business right now, at what is working. Like, where have you like gotten the most clients from? Like, what niches are the most responsive? Like, who's been the biggest advocate for you on the networking side, like all that stuff, and try and replicate it. You know, because it's like, okay, I know this works. So now it's just a matter of like putting some fuel in that fire, you know? So it's like the same thing with like people on social media. They take, you know, they have a video go viral and then they make 19 other videos and like ignore the fact that this format just did 1 million views. You know, it's like, no, make that same exact video, just change like 2 things and post it for the next month. Like that's like, because you've found something that is currently speaking the language of the internet. So milk it, baby. Like it's like, you milk it for all it's worth. The same applies to business. It's just a game of data collection. So it's like, if you've got a piece of data that's like, okay, that's working, you know, go all in on it. Just push all your chips in on that one effort, you know, for the next few months and just until it stops working pretty much.
Yeah. Dude, well, it's been such a great honor to have you in the studio and you know, learning from you as well just throughout this whole interview.
Yeah.
And I hope people that are watching this get, you know, a lot of intel from you too as well.
Same.
Is there any advice or anything you want to say to people that are listening, or maybe people that are thinking about freelancing and taking that leap?
Just, I say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. You know, just do it. I like the moment of absolute certainty never arrives. So stop waiting for it, and you know, put 1 or 2 things into action today. Like stop watching right now. You don't even have to watch the end of this podcast. You know, I hope you clicked stop right now, and you're not even watching me now. And go do the things that we talked about. You know, make it happen.
Awesome. Well, thanks, people. Stop watching now. So, but where can people find you?
And all the usual places. But you know, Instagram. Send me a DM on Instagram. Send me a DM on LinkedIn. I'm the Jamie Brindle on every platform. But yeah, if people can't tell, I like chatting about this stuff. So feel free to reach out.
Well, Jamie, thanks for coming to the podcast. And if you are looking for a podcast studio, record your podcast, check us out. West Coast Creative Studio. We are located in Hollywood. And thank you for coming, my man.
Do it, guys. Just come check the spot out. Seriously.
There we go.
Yeah. I don't endorse many things, but I'll endorse this.
Appreciate you.
This place is legit for sure.
All right. Thanks.